In 4000 BC, the Mesopotamians made observatories called ziggurats. They also discovered the 12 zodiacs and that stars move with the seasons.
In 4000 BC, the Egyptians used stars to align their pyramids and temples. They also made a calendar to predict the flood of the Nile.
In 3000 BC, Stonehenge was built for the uses of ritual astronomy. It's not nearly as accurate as today's standards, but it is possible that standards back then were a little different.
In 1200 BC, the Chinese recorded meteor showers, comets, and solar/lunar eclipses.
In 610 BC, the astronomer Thales predicted a total solar eclipse. In 530 BC, Pythagoras discovered that most planetary bodies move in spherical paths. He also discovered that most of them are actually spherical in shape. In 500 BC, Babylonian astronomers discovered the patterns of the moon. They also discovered planetary synodic periods, or the time it takes for a certain planet to return to the same configuration of its orbit.
In 350 BC, Aristotle tried to prove the Earth was round. He also thought Earth was motionless at the center of the universe. In 290 BC, Aristarchus applied geometry to find distance to the moon and relative distances and sizes of the moon and sun. He also found the distance to the moon by finding linear and angular diameters.
In 230 BC, Eratosthenes used geometry to find the Earth's size. He also was the first one to use the sun's altitude to find the latitude difference between two cities.
In 134 BC, Hipparchus discovered a new star. He also discovered precession, which is the slow circular motion of the north and south poles.
In 500 AD, the Mayans and Mesoamerican buildings were aligned with the sunrise and sunsets of the equinoxes. Every significant event was based on the planet of Venus, and they could predict most eclipses accurately in advance.
In 140 AD, Ptolemy created the first accurate model accounting for the movements of the planets. He also recorded over 1,000 stars with positions and their brightness.
In 1394 AD, the Arabs and Muslims looked over old data from the astronomers before them, and they made more accurate observations with their new technologies.
In 1500 AD, Copernicus was the first to build a heliocentric model of the solar system. He also published a trigonometry book.
In 1560 AD, Bray was the first to understand the importance of multiple observations of an event. He also looked for stellar parallax, or the annual apparent change in a star's position. His model of the solar system had the Earth orbited by the moon and sun, but everything else was orbiting the sun.
In 1600 AD, Galileo found some unknown stars, made the first modern telescope, and found out the moon has mountains and valleys.
In 1600 AD, Kepler published his 3 laws of planetary motion, as well as wrote a book on the orbits of many planetary bodies.
In 1665, Newton made the laws of motion and gravity.
In 1680 AD, Edmund Halley discovered Halley's Comet, and he worked with Newton while bringing the mathematical principles of natural philosophy to print.
In 1916 AD, Einstein published a paper on general theory of relativity. He also contributed toward the theory of radiation and statistical mechanics.
In 1910 AD, Niels Bohr explained the properties of metal with the aid of electron theory. He also looked into atomic structure, and his work helped further nuclear fission later on.
In 1925 AD, Wolfgang Pauli discovered 2 new numbers. He also made the Pauli principle.
In 1925 AD, Werner Heisenberg discovered a way to formulate quantum mechanics with matrices. He also discovered the theory of hydrodynamics.
In 1929 AD, Edwin Hubble discovered that the galaxies move at a high speed. He also discovered the distant clouds of light were galaxies.
In 1927, Georges Lemaître had a theory that the universe was expanding in all directions. The same laws still applied, just the universe wasn't static.
In 1939 AD, Robert Oppenheimer wrote a paper on black holes and neutron stars. He also contributed to the making of the atomic bomb.
In 1940 AD, Fred Hoyle wrote about the theory of stellar nucleosynthesis. He rejected the Big Bang theory and wrote about the theory of gravity.
In 1965 AD, Penzias and Wilson discovered cosmic microwave radiation, which happened to be significant evidence of the Big Bang Theory.
In 1969 AD, Buzz Aldrin and Lance Armstrong were the first two men to set foot on the moon.